Today, what I'd like to talk about is overwhelm. And we all experience it. We all feel the many distractions and many things coming at us in our work and personal life. And so, how do you actually work with that? How do you actually make do, given that that's not going to stop? That sometimes it's going to be more, sometimes it's going to be less, sometimes we're going to manage it well, sometimes we're going to manage it poorly. But how do we work with that to be our most effective and best selves? First of all, to notice that I'm getting overwhelmed, that whatever's coming at me is too much, and there will be more coming. And so that capacity to not sort of heap on more problems of our own doing, because there are things in our workday and in our personal life that are going to be coming at us. And again, we can't stop that completely. Sometimes we can take breaks, sometimes we can lessen it. But that capacity to notice ourselves and to see, oh, I'm getting tight in my shoulders, or I feel like heat energy is rising and I'm getting angry, or whatever the case may be, to notice that before it becomes unmanageable, and then manage it when it's small. Because often what happens is we don't manage it when it's small, and then it becomes a bigger problem. I like to say, sometimes a sore neck doesn't get our attention, but a broken neck always gets our attention. And a sore neck is often the seed of a broken neck. And so, and that's just a way to say, of course, that small things are already the precursor to becoming big things. And if it's something we don't want, or if it's something that's challenging, it's important to notice it when it's small and take care of it when it's small. Do what we can to set a foundation to be able to manage the overwhelm. Because again, we're all going to get overwhelmed, and probably a little bit every day. And so, how do we live in this way that's grounded and sustainable, that we're the most effective teammate to others and to ourselves that we can be? This is where it's a real practice around, how am I showing up? How am I relating to sort of a natural level of feeling overwhelmed? When there's too much, we feel overwhelmed. And sometimes when there's too little work, for instance, we feel sort of anxious. Like, what do I do with this time? I don't feel like I have enough, especially if we work for ourselves. Like, oh, I need to create more work. Well, then it's anxiety. So it's a double-edged sword, right? Too much, we get overwhelmed. Too little, we sometimes feel anxious. And so, again, sort of holding this system in a greater spaciousness or a greater awareness. Mindfulness contributes to that. Other things contribute to that. All self-care can support sort of holding this in a greater space. And as a practice, then, as an ongoing sort of development, watching yourself, and how do I notice? What are the first signs for me to notice that I'm getting a little overwhelmed? Maybe there's a pattern. And again, that's another really helpful thing for us each to do, is track, how does overwhelm what is the overwhelm cycle or life cycle for me? And, where does it begin? If I start to notice patterns, what's sort of the peak, or what's sort of worst case scenario, or what happens if I don't manage it at all or notice it at all? Okay, that's that. And then what's the come down after that? Oh, watching it in yourself, seeing how it lives, and then building in little practices. Again, whether that's a few deep breaths, or taking breaks as needed, or making sure that you've eaten healthy or slept well. All of these contribute to how you show up as your best self or not. That's really the end game, right? Is how do you show up as your best self? How do you notice overwhelm, and actually use overwhelm as a good tool, as a barometer to say, hey, I'm not showing up as my best self, or I haven't really done the work to sort of create this context in a way that actually works for me. And of course, there's things beyond our control, but much of it is within our capacity to choose, and making good choices around that.